Chapter 1001 Start plus 002 Weird. You are listening at FameTV.info. Chapter 1001 Start plus 002 Weird 001 Opening affected by the North Sea monsoon. The winter in Langton is very cold. A light snow had just fallen during the day, and the crimson moon hanging in the air at night dyed the snow with a faint blood color. 2 kilometers away, I could barely see the gas lamps lit overnight in downtown Langton, and a dilapidated black carriage hurriedly passed on the road. In the carriage filled with the smell of cow dung, Sumu_'s body did not dare to move, or to be more precise, he couldn't move even a hand if he wanted to. He could feel the vibration of the carriage under him, the pungent stench in the carriage, and the severe pain in his chest. It was the pain of being pierced through the heart. It was a very strange feeling. Consciousness. An hour ago, Sumu had just crossed over. He was both nervous and excited. He had just accepted some scattered memories of the original owner of the body. His own chest. Sumu was stunned at the time. 10,000 grass and mud horses galloped in his mind in an instant, and he died just after crossing. What kind of rhythm is this? However, after a while, he realized that something was wrong. His heart was pierced by a knife. If he were a normal person, he would definitely not be able to live. However, apart from feeling the pain, he was still conscious, and even the pain in the chest wound was gradually relieving. I died yet. Sumu was frightened, and his mind was full of doubts, but in the eyes of outsiders, he was now a freshly baked corpse. The carriage was still driving unhurriedly, and 2 people in black cotton coats were driving in front and talking in a low voice. Master Rice, this time I failed again. This is the 3rd time. Could it be that there is something wrong with the drawing of the summoning array? The middle-aged man who was driving the car with the reins in his hand spoke cautiously and seemed a little timid. Impossible. The blueprint was given to me by the priest himself, there is absolutely no way to go wrong. The person named Les retorted sharply, his words were very firm, even a little crazy. The middle-aged man who was driving the carriage did not dare to say more, and even shook the reins in his hands, and the carriage accelerated. What summoning pattern? Who are these 2 dogs, why are you killing me? Sumu had more questions in his heart when he heard the 2 of them talking, but unfortunately he couldn't move at all, let alone ask questions, so he could only endure silently. Maybe a miracle happened, maybe after a while he really died. After a few minutes, the carriage stopped. The 2 men in black jumped out of the driver_'s seat, looked around, and moved Sumu down. This is a desolate and gloomy mass grave. Under the cold night, there are many ghosts, and there are even a few green ghosts wandering not far away. It was obviously not the first time for the 2 men in black. They moved Green down and threw it to the back of a small mound on the side of the road. They turned around and walked back without digging a hole to bury the body. Old Bill, this summoning failed, a lot of materials were wasted and people died. We must be more careful in the next few days. Okay, Mr. Rice, I will be careful, but... Old Bill, who was driving the car, hesitated. But what? The man in black named Les asked sternly. That Green is from the Wilson family. If he suddenly disappears, am afraid. Old Bill hesitated. Wilsons. Why didn't you say it earlier? Damn. Rice immediately raised his voice. How many times have I told you, Don provoke the nobles? You idiot. Old Bill 's lips twitched and he muttered, it's just a poor sidekick, and I wanted to bring him to join us, but I didn't want to make him a sacrifice. But under Les fierce eyes, the voice became smaller and smaller, and he didn't say anything. Dare to say it again. After a while, Les calmed down, scolded again, waved his hand and said, forget it, he /s already dead anyway, so he can /t handle that much. Now hurry back to the city first, don't /t run into those weirdness, it /s too far from the city. Far. While speaking, the two walked away, and soon there was the sound of the horses neighing and the carriage moving away. At this time, Sumu was thrown on the cold and hard ground. I don't /t know if it was his illusion. His cheeks were on the ground, touching the cold snow, which made his skin feel vaguely. This lifted Sumu /s spirits, but he still couldn't /t move, the pain in his chest was still severe, but it weakened a lot. In the cold wind in the middle of the night, after an unknown amount of time, Sumu patiently endured. It is a cold and dark energy, the energy is very weak, contained in the heart, because the heart was pierced by the blade, it has spread to the whole body at this time. At the same time, Green got more memories in his mind. Green Wilson, a destitute son of a noble living in a relative /s house, is now the trainee housekeeper of the Wilson family in Langton. The Wilson family belongs to the top aristocrats in Langton City, owning 3 cotton spinning mills and a rich iron mine. The family wealth is enough to rank in the top 5 in Langton City, and they have a hereditary viscount. Crossed by Sumu, this unlucky belongs to a distant relative of the Wilson family. He was just 19 years old this year. Because his family was in decline, he took refuge with the Wilson family in Langton City under the title of a noble knight. But he was not satisfied with being a housekeeper. In order to revive the family business, he took risks, secretly studied undead magic, and joined a dangerous secret religious organization, trying to gain the favor of the evil and gain incredible abilities. It /s a pity that his luck is not very good. The old Bill who introduced him was just an errand, and he didn't /t explain it clearly, which caused a misunderstanding. Instead, he regarded him as a sacrifice to summon the evil god, placed it in the middle of the summoning circle, and slaughtered it. Bloodletting sacrifice. As a result, the summoning ceremony failed, and he died in vain. Actually, for Sumu, this summoning ceremony did not fail. Although he did not summon the evil god, he summoned his consciousness. When undead magic, worshipping evil gods coexist with steam engines, trains, and cannons, what kind of world is this? The Industrial Revolution has lit the dawn of science, but there are still mysterious and strange supernatural abilities, magicians are still mysterious and dangerous, druids may hide in circuses and travel between cities, glamorous witches will not be burned to death, but become regulars at noble cocktail parties, knights give up war horses and heavy armor, and hang on their equipment a rifle with a bayonet, firing bullets infused with grudge. The cold wind in the middle of the night blew more urgently, and the howls of wolves could be vaguely heard in the distance. Green lay on the cold and hard ground for an unknown period of time, the wound on his chest that was pierced by the blade actually closed, and the piercing pain was relieved, but his limbs were stiff and he still couldn't /t move, but he could already sense the presence of his hands and feet, and according to move your fingers and toes slightly at your own will. This made him secretly relieved, although it was a little weird, but in any case, at least he didn't /t have to die again. After a while, Green finally tried his best to get up, straightened up and sat on the ground, panting heavily, just such a simple action had exhausted his strength. At this time, he felt cold all over his body, and although his hands and feet were conscious, they seemed to be frozen, and it was very inconvenient to move. It /s so uncomfortable, what /s wrong with this body? Green was secretly worried that although he lived after the catastrophe, it would not work if he became disabled. Fortunately, after a while, his hands and feet slowly recovered, and Green hurriedly checked his entire body. It was found that the hole pierced by the knife on the clothes was still there, but the wound inside had already grown. The new skin was whiter than the surrounding skin, and it was still slightly itchy when touched with fingers. Then he pressed his chest, his heart was still beating, and finally a stone fell to the ground in his heart. In any case, he was still alive, which was more important than anything else. Green felt slightly relieved and began to look around. It started to snow again at this time, and the cold wind wrapped the snowflakes on people like knives. This Green Wilson should have been indoors before, wearing only a shirt and a sweater, but Green didn't feel particularly cold. Instead he felt a sense of comfort, as if the temperature was just right. And he didn't pay attention just now. At this time, Green found that although he had a heartbeat, his heartbeat was very slow, only 20 or 30 times a minute. What the matter? Green frowned, feeling a bad feeling in his heart. I am not afraid of the cold, my heartbeat slows down. This is a precursor to the transformation of a lich. According to the memory of undead magic in his mind, Green thought of a certain possibility, making the hairs on his back stand upright. At the same time, recalling that just now, his heart was pierced by a knife, and a faint energy overflowed from his heart, which made him suddenly realize. It turns out that Green Wilson studied undead magic before. Although he didn't know much about it, he didn't even know how to get started, but he once obtained a damaged magic item used by a necromancer. This guy is ignorant and fearless. He even experimented randomly. He was lucky. He didn't kill himself. Instead, he inhaled the remaining spiritual energy of the magic item and stored it in his heart. If there is an official necromancer at this time, with this little psionic energy, you can build a magic circle and become a junior necromancer apprentice. Unfortunately, Green Wilson didn't have such a chance. At this time, due to the damage to his heart, his magic power overflowed, causing his body to become alienated. Instead of dying, there was a sign of lich transformation. But his soul had already been sacrificed in the summoning ceremony, allowing Su Mubai to take advantage of it and be reborn into this world. Green figured out the cause and effect, and he settled on what happened, and he was no longer entangled in his heart. At this time, the wind and snow were even bigger. Fortunately, there was a red moon with a strange color in the sky. It was finally bright, and I could barely see the road. That should be the direction of Langton City. Green got up and stood on the top of the mound next to him, looking at the shadowy lights in the distance. In the Kingdom of Lorenzo, Langton City is just a small city, but because of its proximity to the coast, there are ports and convenient transportation, and the economy is very prosperous. The government has the money, and in order to decorate the facade, just last year, gas street lamps were installed on the main roads in the city. The mayor made the decision himself, spared no expense, lighting up all night, and making Langton a real city that never sleeps. 002 Weird at 40 in the morning, the sky was just dawning, and the snow fell a little bit but it didn't stop. Green finally walked into the urban area of Langton City, stepping on the neat stone road and walking towards the Wilson family /S mansion following his memory. The Wilson family /S mansion is located in the upper town of Langton City. It is a castle building built for nearly 200 years. The towering towers symbolize the wealth and power of the family, which can be seen even outside the city. However, Green /S current identity is not qualified to enter the castle. He is only a trainee housekeeper of the Wilson family. Unkindness. Green and the servants of the Wilson family lived in a 3-story building next to the castle. It was a structure similar to a cheese building, with 20 rooms on each floor and shared bathrooms. Green /S room was on the second floor. When he closed the door with his back, he finally let out a breath. The furnishings in the house are very simple, about 10 square meters, single bed, wash basin rack, desk, wardrobe. Looked around, and finally his eyes fell on the large wardrobe with rough manufacturing. According to his memory, there was a hidden compartment in the wardrobe, and the magic item of the necromancer was hidden inside. Green was both curious and looking forward to it, and immediately walked over to look for the dark grid, intending to take a look at the damaged magic item. Unexpectedly, at this time, there was a sudden knock on the door, and a milky voice called out. "Green." Get up quickly, Master Vincent has something to go out. Vincent is the heir to the Wilson family, a standard young aristocrat who attends dances, picks up girls for fun, and lives a very luxurious life. Because the predecessor of Green was also a nobleman. Although his family background was ruined, he received aristocratic education since he was a child, and they belonged to a family. The two could talk very well. Now the door is called by Vincent_'s maid, a 13-year-old, blonde, kind and lovely little girl named Shirley. Green gave up the idea of checking the closet in the closet immediately, turned around and responded, quickly changed his clothes, and opened the door to come out. Shirley is very short, only reaching Green_'s chest, with a baby face, wearing a blue and white maid dress, long hair in a ponytail, very beautiful and cute. Following Shirley out, he saw a luxuriously decorated four-wheeled carriage parked on the street. The four sturdy horses snorted and exhaled a stream of white air. This is Vincent_'s special car. Green and Shirley went straight into the carriage, which was full of dark red velvet interiors, with heating, and there was a heat flow. Sitting in the car was a handsome young man in a white tuxedo with two dark circles under his eyes, but he looked excited. Seeing Green, he immediately smiled and said, "Green, I'm sorry for waking you up so early." Green, according to the relationship between the two people in his memory, was not polite and sat directly opposite. "Dear Master Vincent, what /s the good thing that makes you so excited that you haven't slept all night?" Vincent tugged at the bell by his hand to signal that the driver can leave, and couldn't help but answer excitedly. "Elf. It /s a real elf." According to the news from the Roy auction house, 3 women just arrived last night. The elf is said to be captured from the Gaia forest. I have never seen an elf, I must buy one this time, or I will regret it for the rest of my life. Green was slightly surprised. In the memories he had obtained, elves were a very rare humanoid species, not common even in the capital of the Kingdom of Lorenzo, and did not expect to appear in a small city like Langton. The streets were very deserted in the early morning, and the carriages drove smoothly. In less than 20 minutes, they had arrived at the gate of the Lua auction house. Apparently, it was not only the Wilson family who got the news, and it was not only Vincent who was interested in elves. At this time, 3 luxury carriages with the noble family crests had been parked in front of the auction house. Vincent immediately became a little anxious, and didn't care about the cold outside. He pushed the door and jumped out of the carriage, and walked in quickly. "Mr. Vincent, good morning." A well-dressed lady immediately greeted her with a smile. As the heir of the Wilson family, Vincent is a frequent visitor to the auction house. He nodded slightly, and immediately asked urgently. "Ms. Ross, you should know my purpose, tell me where the elves are." Ms. Ross, with a professional smile and no other nonsense, turned sideways and went in. "Master Vincent, don't worry, please come this way first." Along with Green and Shirley, were also taken to a reception hall, which was decorated like a bar. The style was not luxurious, but it was also very tasteful. There were more than a dozen people sitting in the hall, including well-dressed nobles and a few strong men dressed as adventurers, with leather armor, long swords, and revolvers. They had a fierce aura and bright eyes. When Green and the 3 of them came in, the adventurers sitting at the 2 tables were drinking hard liquor, but they were all gloomy and not very interested. Green is very strange, and the atmosphere is very wrong. If nothing else, the 3 elf slave girls are those adventurers who brought them to Langton City. As long as the deal goes smoothly, at least a few thousand gold pounds will make a windfall immediately. Why are these people still smelly? With a face. Thinking of this, Green was very careful. At this moment, a strong bald man with a blue war pattern on his face sighed, wondering if he drank too much, or was born with a loud voice, and slammed the metal cup in his hand on the table. "Damn! Those damn the thing is simply haunted, leaving Langton this time, if it still follows, I will fight it. The middle-aged man across the table frowned, as if he wanted to persuade but didn't know how to say it. In the end, he could only sigh and continue drinking. Green noticed something strange. It was very strange for 3 elf slave girls to appear in a small town like Langton City, and it was very suspicious that news was released overnight and they were going to be auctioned on the spot. Usually, this kind of auction has to be preheated and publicized for a few days, attracting the nobles and rich people from nearby towns. Seeing the mental state of these adventurers again, it is obvious that there is another inside story, and it is quite troublesome. Green weighed a little, and immediately reminded in a low voice. Vincent, those few people /T seem right. As the heir of the Wilson family /S efforts to cultivate, Vincent is not a brainless and rich second generation. Without Green /S reminder, he also found the clue, and immediately signaled the waiter of the auction house to come over. After whispering a few words, he stuffed a note. The waiter saw a hint of joy flashing across the denomination of the banknotes, and immediately retreated, inquiring about the news very quickly. Only a few minutes later, the waiter walked back quickly and replied in a low voice. It is indeed those who brought the elves. It is said that it was captured from the Gaia forest and was originally intended to be taken to Faerun City. However, I heard that there was a strange encounter on the road, and several people died, making it impossible to do anything, so I temporarily decided to stop in our Langton City. Do you know what /S weird? Vincent /S face was slightly serious after hearing this. My lord, they didn't /T reveal the specifics. They only knew that it was quite terrifying and strange. It is said that their companion served in the army and was a senior apprentice knight. They were all killed by strangeness. It /S weird to say, but can /T help but say it? Green was also taken aback. The senior apprentice knight and the senior magic apprentice were of the same rank. If they were equipped with enchanted firearms, they were very powerful, and they were killed. In fact, weird is just what ordinary people say. Ordinary people lack understanding of extraordinary things, so they call phenomena that cannot be explained by common sense as weird. To put it bluntly, they are people with some kind of extraordinary ability, beasts, ghosts, demons, and the like. End of this chapter. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.